Hello everyone. This is not a story for the faint of heart. Today, we will be stepping into the darkness of the most gruesome cases, where evil not only exists, but also leaves bloody and haunting traces. This is Real Gruesome Murder Cases, a series of true stories about murders that made the whole world shudder. If you are ready to face the cold truth and the gruesome corners of humanity, come with me to delve deeper into each case. Murder at the Roadhouse Saloon. I dozed, peacefully drooling on the notes from my philosophy class when the phone began its merciless shriek. My heart stopped. Notes, pens, and phone scattered across the floor in my shocked and befuddled response. Groggy, I rifled through the refuse until the lighted face of the phone gleamed from under the bed. Grabbing it, I cursed the caller. The ID announced, Carol. Who the hell is Carol, and why is she calling at... I checked the time in the upper left corner of the phone. 4 p.m.? I rubbed the grit from my eyes and checked the ID again. Oh, that Carol. I wonder what she wants. Cousins and the only children of twin mothers and abusive fathers, we called whenever we needed support. Her father, murdered outside a saloon near the rail yard, and mine, a miserable drunk. We spent many hours commiserating about how we hated our families. Hey. Ed. Did I wake you? Number, I was reviewing my philosophy notes. You were asleep. Sorry, but I need to talk to you. She sounded agitated, upset. Okay. She'd gotten a call from some lawyer about the estate of our recluse Aunt Zoe. Estate? I didn't know the stingy old bag. No one did. Why you? Why not one of her sisters? They hate each other as much as they hate Aunt Zoe. Zoe was the elder of the three, and they hadn't spoken to each other in years. The lawyer said Aunt Zoe named me as executor of her will. Wow! I drilled my left eye with the knuckle of my index finger. Did you know her? Jerk. What a stupid question. Yeah, sure, we're best friends. No. Sorry, I'm not awake yet. How can I help? Thanks. I knew I could depend on you. I chuckled. I'm all you've got. You don't know the half of it. So the lawyer told me she has a storage unit with all her belongings, and we need to sort through them. Oh God. Was she a hoarder? I can see it now, digging through mounds of useless crap, rat dung and spoiled food. Better get us some hazmat suits. Carol barked a sudden laugh. You watch too much TV. Not with the classes I'm taking. Just an overactive imagination from being sequestered in this room. Well, here's your break. Can you meet me out at the U-Haul on Tate Street Saturday, say, about 10 a.m.? That's awfully early. You can handle it. I want to get through this quickly. I'll treat you to lunch. I'll be there. Saturday, 10 a.m. I set the phone down and sat cross-legged on the bed, rubbing my eyes. Although neither of us lived at home, our weird, dysfunctional family dynamics haunted us at every turn. 3 sisters who hated each other and seldom spoke. The older sister Zoe, a recluse, and the others are trapped in undesirable situations. My parents hated each other and should have divorced years ago, but couldn't figure out how. Carol's father dead, and the killer still unknown. Her mother was angry at everyone and everything, but unable to figure out why. We had temporary hope and happiness when we connected. Zoe, I'd never met her. I'd heard she was caustic and could squeeze a nickel until it squealed. Saturday rolled around and I overslept my alarm. After wolfing down some toast, I grabbed 2 lattes from Starbucks and parked outside the storage unit. Relieved that I didn't see her car, I slumped back in the seat. One of the building's hallway doors opened, and Carol sauntered up to the driver's window. I opened it about an inch Oversleep? Number, I'm 5 minutes early. I got here 15 minutes ago. You're late. Cut me some slack. I got you a latte. Oh, how sweet. I wish you were my brother. Am I forgiven? Even though my clock said I was early? Yeah, let's get this done. Thanks for coming. You know I meant it when I said, I'm all you've got. Yeah, I thought of that too. She sipped her latte, muttering, so strange. And they're sisters. Well, let's do this. She held up the pinky finger of her left hand as I got out of the car. Together? What? We're back in grade school. Come on, best friends, secret pact. She waved her pinky. I hooked hers with my left pinky. Always. Our secret pact, as unique as the port wine-colored birthmarks tracing the length of our joined fingers, a sign we told all our classmates that made us special with secret powers, and when joined together, unbeatable. A stupid kids game that became our trademark and kept us close. I followed Carol down a long hall of articulated doors. She stopped at one of the middle units, pulling a key from her pocket and stuck it in the padlock. It still bothers me, I mused. She held the lock but didn't turn the key. What? Why would someone you never knew make you executor of her will? She grinned. My reaction to sorting through the old bag's hoard was bad, but you should have heard Mom's. She gave the lawyer hell and hung up on him. How'd your mom react? I gave my shoulders a lift and squeezed my face with an exaggerated frown. Beats the hell out of me. If you hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known. She pinched her lips together and shook her head. Family dynamics. She must have really been pissed at our mothers. The padlock snapped open. Ah, you ready for the big reveal? Open sesame. The door rolled up. We stood there with our mouths open. You're kidding? Carol shifted to one foot, tapped the toe of the other, and curled her fists against her hips. Every exhale snapped from her lips with a soft puff. I cracked up. You certainly needed help. We stood in the doorway of the mid-sized locker, me snickering and Carol puffing, and stared at two steamer trunks standing on end in the middle of the otherwise empty unit. No hoard, no clutter, nothing but those two steamer trunks. Carol glanced at me from the corner of her eye and told me to shut up. Then she patted her hands together. Well, you take one trunk, and I'll take the other, and we'll get out of here in half the time. Whatever floats your boat. We still on for lunch? You and your appetite. And with that, we strolled up to the trunks and opened them. Years of memories spilled out in a flood of photos and letters and toys. We stood there in stunned silence. What is this? The overwhelming sight numbed me. How do we sort this out? Where do we begin? Well, I dropped to my knees. I guess we start digging. Carol nodded blankly and followed my lead. Together, we sifted through the life of this discarded person, someone we knew nothing about, awed at what we touched, held, and read. Out of this confused detritus of an enigma's life blossomed a persona of love and caring that eluded everyone who thought they knew her. In this kaleidoscope of wonder, we buried ourselves until I stretched and glanced at my watch. God almighty, we've been sitting here for almost 6 hours. It's 2:45. Carol sat back and crossed her legs, holding what appeared to be a letter. Hey. Her voice broke, and large tears began to roll down her face. You gotta read this. She held it out to me. The paper shook in her hand. A large knot twisted in my stomach. For an instant, I stared at her swaying hand. I didn't want to read whatever was written on that page, but an urge somewhere deep inside forced me to take it. At first, I only saw Carol's eyes and the strange, frightening focus they held. But then the words, written in a graceful script, sucked the breath from my lungs and left me gasping. My hand flopped in my lap, my arm weakened by the weight of the message. I stared at the trunk's latch, gathering my thoughts and fighting to still my pounding heart. I turned to Carol as a new wave of tears crested in her eyes. You're my sister," she answered with a rapid nod and hid her quivering lips behind her hands. My God, but why? How? I waved my hand toward the contents of the open trunk. I think this is starting to make sense. I pushed aside the clutter, digging toward the bottom corner, and stopped. I pulled out a birth certificate, mine, and held it up with 2 fingers like it was radioactive. She held a similar one up to me. The certificates list Zoe as our mother, but no father. Deflating thoughts of illegitimacy flooded my mind, stopped by Carol's words. "Read the second page of the letter," she said, her voice thinning. Bile-laced fear lashed the back of my throat, but the sour taste receded, overwhelmed by my need to know. The muscles in my throat swelled. I couldn't read the words for the blurring in my eyes. Blinking, a wet saltiness spilled into my mouth. I looked at Carol, my fading words pushed across my lips in wisps. He raped her. Twice! The bastard raped her twice! Carol threw her arms around my neck. I'm glad the son of a bitch is dead. I could kiss whoever killed him. We relished the comfort of each other's arms, and finally withdrew, sitting back and inhaling languid breaths, drained of emotion and strength. I wiped my face with my shirt sleeve and gazed at Carol. Well, I chuckled. Sis, what now? She leaned her head back and took a deep breath, puffing out her cheeks and blowing the air toward the ceiling. Then her head slumped against her chest. I don't know. Bro. The metal walls of the unit rattled with shrieks of laughter. I slanted my head toward her. But, he was your... Sorry. Our father raped our mother. Well, until now we knew him as my father. She chuckled. What a fucking shock. But, did our mothers know? Is that why we ended up with her surrogate twin sisters? I don't know, and to tell you the truth, I don't care. I've wondered why I never felt a connection to my parents. Now I know. They aren't my parents. Shit. Here's the clincher. I pulled a photo of Zoe from the pile. She must have been around 20. I handed it to Carol. She was quite a knockout. No wonder your dad couldn't keep his hands off her. Take a look at her pinky. Carol brought the photo closer, then studied her own pinky, and then mine. Same birthmark. A dark sadness pained me, and my eyes blurred. Carol brushed a tear from my cheek. I know what you're thinking. I would have liked to have known her, too. We wrapped our arms around each other and pulled each other close like the lost brother and sister we were. I kissed her cheek. Thanks, sis. I needed that. Uh-huh. She took the letter and reread the second page. What did you make of this last paragraph? I didn't get that far. She handed it back and I read it a half-dozen times. Remove the tape from the anchor. I glanced at the trunks and the piles surrounding us. I don't know. These trunks must be 100 years old. I don't have a dot. I stopped, staring at the interior of my trunk, then Carol's. Scenes of the early 1900s decorated the interior linings. Famous destinations adorned the lining of her trunk, and famous cruise liners adorned mine. Wait a minute. I emptied my trunk and scrutinized the lining. The Titanic sat at anchor in one corner. I shined the light from my phone, and a 5 or 6 inch piece of clear tape, starting at the Titanic's anchor chain, gleamed. I pulled the tape, revealing a tear in the fabric behind it. As I peeled the fabric back, Carol squeezed closer, peering over my shoulder. I heard her breath stop. Beneath the fabric was a thin brown envelope and another photo. I glanced up at her. More surprises? Let's see 'em, damn it. I pulled the photo out. Carol gasped. This was taken at the roadhouse where my dad was murdered. I brought the photo closer and squinted at the 2 figures at the bar. Shit. Those 2 at the bar are our dads. Yeah, and by the looks, yours is about to punch mine. He really looks pissed. I flipped it over. It's dated. Carol snatched the photo from my hand and choked a soft gulp. Jesus, that's the night he was killed. I'm sure my face reflected her look of confusion. Like, is it possible? Did my dad murder yours? She tilted her head and squeezed the tip of her tongue between her lips. She must have read my mind. It's possible. But why? She murmured. I gave her a half-hearted shrug. I don't know. Jealousy? I sensed my eyes suddenly widening as the idea sunk in. Crap, were they fighting over Zoe? Did my dad have designs on her too? Only one way to find out. Ask him. Carol jumped to her feet, but I grabbed her arm before she could leave. Wait. I held up the brown envelope. We haven't opened this yet. She knelt as I tore the envelope's flap and removed 2 sheets of paper. I don't think we need to ask. I waved one in front of her nose. This is a sworn deposition. Carol took it and read it. Everything we need to know is there. How your dad raped her and threatened her, and that my dad didn't kill him. I don't understand. Why did she wait? Why didn't she go to the police? Who knows? She's gone. I rubbed the stubble on my cheek. But I have a theory. What? Revenge. You're kidding. I shook my head. A warm flood of satisfaction swept over me. Nope. He was always a suspect, and she knew he was in a miserable marriage. Hell, I was there. I saw it. Obviously, he didn't know she knew. Whatever it was she knew. But then maybe she got more satisfaction out of watching him wallow in his own personal hell, drinking his life away, broke, living with a woman who hated him. I know Mom wouldn't leave him because she wanted him to be miserable. Maybe she knew too. He wouldn't get a divorce because all sorts of shit would come out about him. Wow, you gotta be angry to wait that long. Holy crap. My mouth dropped. What? I held up the second sheet. This is her will. Carol sat up. Did you know she was married? She shook her head. 35 years. Her husband died 6 years ago, which explains your choice as executor, I guess. Well, what's in the will? My saliva turned to sand. I shoved the paper toward her. The more she read, the wider her eyes became. She slapped the palm of her hand over her mouth. Is that a $sign with 5 zeros behind it? My head bowed toward her in 2 quick, stunned nods. Carol broke into a hysterical laugh. She left everything to us. Where did she get it? Who cares? If that ain't revenge. I turned a sober look her way. What now? It took her a long moment to contain her laughter. Then it sank in. Get a lawyer? That's a good start. I clasped my hands around hers. We've learned a lot today. Good things about you and me. I just hope her will, what she gave us, won't come between us. She smiled. Never. Let's talk options with the lawyer. And she surveilled the residue of Zoe's secret life. Come back and clean this up later. I don't think I can handle any more revelations. No truer words were spoken. How about pizza and a pitcher of beer? I'm ready. She pulled the padlock key from her pocket. I'll lock up and meet you outside. Oh. I stopped and picked up a small envelope and handed it to her. This was clipped to the back of the will. It's addressed to you. Me? She turned it over in her hand. Take your time. I'll wait outside. Carol rolled the door closed and locked the padlock. She put the key in her pocket, opened the envelope, and removed a photo. Her breath hung in her throat. She dropped it like it burned her fingers and stumbled toward the exit, but then turned, ran back, and snatched it from the floor. She stared at it, mumbling, "That's me, at the roadhouse." She shot quick glances up and down the hallway and collapsed against the wall, rubbing the back of her hand across her lips. Closing her eyes for a moment, she rolled her head from side to side and then read the notations on the back of the photo. Dated the night her father died, the sweat ran down her neck in rivulets and her flesh turned cold. Below the date, 8 words, penned in Zoe's graceful script, closed the door to her enigmatic life. I know you killed him. He deserved it. Mother Nature. The story of a serial killer. I don't think fuck, or any other derivative of that monumental word, should be changed to duck when I finger bang my passion into a text. If I ask a man to come over, we're not going to duck anything. South. Also, do you know that ducks take part in forced copulation? Biologists and other smart-ass types say that ducks waddle in a line because it makes them less susceptible to predators. They say the waddle also helps them forage for food. But I think they do it because back at the duck pond, the male ducks waddle their way into organized gang rapes of the female ducks. And ducks kill ducklings. All sorts of shameful criminal acts happen at the duck pond. Yet, some people don't want to eat ducks because of that cute waddling line. A duck is a lucky fuck that way, at least until it gets raped by other ducks, murdered by its parents, or a human who fails to find the charm in waddling decides to eat it. Predator. Prey. Another day. My cat loathes ducks, yet their rampages entertain her. We live in a gated community because I inherited a house here. This community created ponds throughout the neighborhood, filling them with ducks and, even worse, swans that patrol the streets like winged lunatics. Everywhere I look, there's a monster that wants to kill me. This cat I took in, she struggled to rip off my face seconds after we met. Then I fed her, scratched her ears, cleaned her wounds, and slayed the fleas that tormented her. Put a heat lamp on the screened-in porch so she can watch the ducks and swans brutalize each other. She helps me too, in ways that challenge basic concepts regarding help. By the way, it's good to meet challenges head-on, but not head-first. My last hookup learned that the hard way, so avoid following self-help ideas about how you control every challenge that crosses your path. You control as much as some other entity lets you. Let me tell you how I got this cat. As I mentioned, she wanted to kill me. It began with her clawing my face, which led to the discovery of a dead man's hand. Star, don't let anyone tell you that crashing into a wall to avoid hitting a cliché in an alley equates to doing the right thing. It equates to pain, especially if the four-legged fucker waits to attack you after you exit the car. The cat I took in waited for me to get the car door open, then let me know who owned the alley. The pain of others engages the masses. They heard the surrender of steel followed by shrieking, so they scurried across the alley from business back doors like rats scurrying across a dumpster. Several videoed me as I pulled each claw from my face and struggled to dodge fangs. As I fell to the ground, I saw one man rummaging through my glove compartment. The cat finally let go with a low growl and then ran under the car. That's when I noticed the hand hanging over the low wall of a parking garage. I wasn't the only one who noticed. "Oh my God, there's a hand over there!" someone shouted. I darted across the pavement on my hands and knees to avoid feet intent on trampling. My skin ripped and burned. I panted as the pain from the crash and the crawl began to clash. The click of heels against the ground offered a moment's reprieve from the sensation of being ripped apart. Curiosity commands the ability to subjugate fear. Victims learn this firsthand. Without this act, no one moves on. I peeled my face off the ground. A woman in black leather pants and a tight white tank loomed over me, accessories dripping off her like groupies made of gemstones. She looked like Tom of Finland drew her if he had been into women. "Your clothing is so beige, no one else can tell where your blouse ends and your trousers begin. But I see you," she said. "You're like those dangerous creatures that blend in with the leaves." "Lady, I just crashed my car. I just shredded my hands and knees to avoid being trampled. Unless you're here to help, fuck off back to your dungeon." I said I see you. I didn't say anything about helping you. Well, not in the usual way. I turned back to the car, and she loomed in front of me again, though I never saw her move. "I have more to say. You and that cat both play a vital role in the call. My call. You need to help each other, which helps me. You two are going to come to a mutual understanding somehow, some way." "We sure are," the cat said. And that is when I fainted. Star. When I regained consciousness, news stations were filming the parking garage, the alleyway, and the soulless man who boasted to me that he lasted longer than other men, something he learned at an orgy for retirees. I went back to spend time with him because he was my first kill. I wanted more memories with him, like a mother saying goodbye to her child at college if the mother thrives on blood and guts. But all I saw was his hand, the one that struggled to get the knife away from me after the coke-fueled fucking and drug-laced wine. Someone had moved his body from where I left it, but I recognized the ring that signified his happy marriage to a wife who understood his needs. I longed to roll in his innards again, but it wasn't meant to be. The leather-clad woman told the EMTs to let me go. "It's like she was never here," she said, cradling the cat. "She knows nothing about a hand or any job related to it." The EMTs smiled. I felt like a kitten, but at least I was not a duck waddling into a bad group hug. Not yet. Star, a cat's methods for slaughter command merit. She's one of many masters created to maintain balance. "At least I didn't ask a rhino to handle your tutelage," Mother Nature said, as she stretched her stiletto boots across my table. "That's a one-time lesson, and quite an ugly one. You arranged the crash. You made choices that led to this moment. The cull relies on your choice and my preference. The cull demands my attention around the clock. That same attention consumes you, yet you lack any real skill at killing. You're uninformed about death, how to cause it, or navigate it with a professional standard. You left the body in a place where a homeless man sleeps, so he moved it. You have no real control. None of you do. You make choices while lacking control. That amuses me. Like arms grasping for God through the foam of a typhoon amuses me. Well, at least we do something right. I want you to live for an extended period of time, but you need more skill when you kill. You choose to kill. Fine. That helps me. But give me something to look forward to besides banality. You gush over your achievement, but last night in this city alone, 15 people killed a person they met online for sex. All obvious, sloppy efforts. Enough. The cat can give you some skill and flair. I mean, really, you two work well together. That alley battle was tremendous. Otherwise, look forward to death row. The cat can return to the alley. What's an extended period of time? You can't live forever, so until the cat dies. Keep in mind, that stuff about 9 lives amuses me too. Meow. Sabrina sat with one leg in the air, licking her ass. Master indeed. Yet masters die too. What will happen after I die? Maybe I wanted the dead to reach out through the veil and tell me. After all, I wanted to solve a big mystery for them in a way that impressed Mother Nature more than a typhoon drowning. I'm the one left salivating for knowledge in the dark, not them. Sabrina ceased licking and rubbed against my feet. We agreed to live together as predator and prey, though we both recognized the real predator in the room. Sabrina likes me to trap men like she traps mice, so she gave me a whole lesson on how to seduce prey with my walk. You mesmerize them with slink, she said, purring. Let them feel your kink vibration. Stop texting about ducks. Stop waddling like a duck before I actually place you in the pond with that second man. Mother Nature giving you a voice is the worst thing she's ever done. Where are the tuna treats? I want the whole bag this time. We each depend on the other to create balance for her and for you. Killer ratings. The stealth drone hovered over the backyard of the suburban house, its camera zooming in close to its subject. A boy, kneeling on the lawn, in one hand a praying mantis, the other a pair of tweezers. Holding the insect close to his expressionless face, he slowly ripped the legs off the mantis. Then once that task was completed, immersed the body in a jar of water that lay on the grass in front of him until the insect stopped struggling and was still. A thin smile played across the boy's face. "Hey, Dave," Richie called out across the bustling studio of Hitchcock Media Enterprises. "Come take a look at this. Think we have a future winner here." Dave looked up from his editing station and walked over to the Richie's terminal, where the balding heavyset man was reviewing the drone footage. "Check this." Richie clicked the play button. "I reckon we got ourselves a classic Type C." Dave watched the replay and nodded. "Yep, definitely Type C. He will be moving on to small animals next, I bet." Dave grabbed a chair and sat down. "What backstory have you got on him so far?" Richie pulled up a file onto the terminal screen. "Let's see. We got a 14-year-old kid, only child, with single-parent mother. Never knew his father." He scrolled down. "Mother is a Christian fundamentalist, breastfed the kid until he was 2 years old." Narrowed his eyes. "Oh, and get this. She would hop into the bath with him every night and sponge him clean up until he was 10 when he started getting erections." Dave barked a short laugh. "Jesus, where do these people come from?" He leant back in the chair. In the future, people would look back on this time as the era of surveillance, where nothing could be hidden unless you were the rich elite. Still, it made their job a hell of a lot easier, which was to make a shitload of money off human misery. Dave liked to think they were performing a necessary evil, like a safety valve on the pressure cooker that was modern society. That made what he did a little easier, and although he still might not sleep well at night, he did sleep in a large mansion in a secure community next to a cosmetically perfect wife. Richie was talking again. Dave focused his attention on the screen. "I've run the algorithms, and the AI is coming up with a 93% chance of activation by the age of 25. Those are good odds, said Dave, rubbing his chin. Put a flag on his file, and we'll check back in a few years. Dave stood up and clapped the other man on the shoulder. The fans are gonna love this one. Richie, good job as always. Richie grinned. Thanks, Chief. Dave returned to his desk, where he was currently editing the latest true crime documentary, to be released later that month. This one was a typical Type B case, a nurse who had been stealthily killing cancer patients by injecting air into their IV drips. A pretty mundane, angel of death scenario, but HME had gotten onto her pretty quick, so the broadcasting and publishing rights hadn't cost an arm and a leg. Dave didn't think ratings would be that great, but they had managed to get some decent footage from the hospital and the journal the nurse had written, so it would be worth syndicating to make a bit more profit. HME's documentaries were some of the highest rating reality shows on Downstream, and let's face it, that's all that existed on mass social media these days. But things had been a little lean of late, and they needed a big, high-profile case. Dave considered Richie's latest find. Type C cases were always male, of low to average intelligence, with suppressed trauma from childhood caused by a family member, and would exhibit acts of violence around the onset of adolescence. The victims were usually female and involved sexual violence or torture before death. We need another Ted Bundy or Richard Ramirez, Dave thought. They don't make them like they used to. Dave chuckled. Imagine if we could have got those guys to sign. We would be drowning in royalties. Still shaking his head in amusement, he wandered over to the publicity department. A tall, angular-looking woman, poring over some glossy printouts at her desk, looked up at his approach. Hey, Dave. How can I help you? Hey, Jenny. Just wondering if Anthony is around. Jenny pursed her lips. He was on sick leave, I think. She checked the screen in front of her. He was supposed to be back a few days ago, but I haven't seen him. Maybe he needed some more time off. Okay. I guess it's hard to find good help these days, eh? Jenny laughed politely. Dave leaned against the desk. Look, maybe you can help me. I'm trying to come up with a catchphrase for the latest doco, but I'm stumped. Jenny furrowed her brow in concentration. That's the nurse one, right? Dave nodded. And she was an elderly type as well. Her eyes lit up, and she clicked her fingers. How about the matron of mercy? Dave contemplated the idea. You know, that's great. He gave Jenny a thumbs up. It'll play well, considering all the victims were terminal patients anyway. Make for some nice, wholesome family viewing. Jenny gave an absent-minded smile as she returned to her work. Dave was just finishing off the credits for the nurse documentary when one of the interns came rushing over, flustered and red-faced. Sir, I think we have something big, the young man said breathlessly. Maybe even a possible Type A. Dave pointed. Juan, isn't it? He prided himself on knowing all the names of his staff, even down to the Gophers. Look, calm down. Take a seat and tell me what you've got. The intern sat down and held out a tablet. We just received some info from one of our talent scouts out in San Francisco. Female, body count of 2, high likelihood of Type A. Dave glanced at the picture. Pretty blonde, with freckles and all, a real girl-next-door beauty. He felt a thrill of exhilaration run through him. A Type A was the rarest of the rare, a serial murderer who was charismatic, highly intelligent, and usually politically or ideologically motivated. They were also the most difficult ones to get to sign on the dotted line. Okay, I'm gonna need more details here. Juan read from the screen in his hand. Gordon Calloway, the third CEO of the hedge fund Armada Londide, was found strangled to death in his penthouse suite at the Regency in LA 6 days ago. Our surveillance picked up this woman leaving the room soon after the time of death. Then she just seemed to disappear. The young man licked his lips. Then 2 days ago, a male body was found in a fourth-floor room of the Fairmont in San Francisco. His skin had been totally removed by a surgical device, most likely a scalpel. As a result, the deceased is yet to be identified. He paused and looked at Dave. The same woman was again detected by our surveillance leaving the scene. Dave raised his eyebrows. 2 different methods of killing. Now that was unusual, even for a Type A. This was getting better and better. Now, you are going to love this. The intern smiled. We have ID on the suspect. Her name is Samantha Bronte, 21 years old and currently studying a master's degree in criminology and comp science at New York University. Dave opened his mouth to speak, but Juan held up his hand. And this is the clincher. Her parents were the last victims of one Simon Peters. Dave felt his jaw drop. Simon Peters, aka the Cuckold Strangler? His doco from 4 years ago was one of the highest rating of all time. Jesus Christ, this is insane. "Hey, Richie," he yelled out. "Get over here pronto." "What is it?" Richie asked, eyes gleaming. He could tell when something good was going on. "Simon Peters, give us a recap." Okay. So his MO was prowling the motor inns of West Florida, where he would stalk and choose his victims, always middle-class couples. Richie scratched his cheek thoughtfully. He would break into their room early in the morning, tie the couple up at gunpoint, rape and strangle the woman in front of her partner, then slit the guy's throat with a hunting knife. He did us a big favor as well by recording the last 2 murders with his phone. Richie looked down at his hands. Of course, we couldn't use such explicit footage for our feature, but somehow, he winked at Dave. Somehow the footage made its way to the dark web, and the notoriety of that boosted our ratings tenfold. Dave let out a breath. There must be some connection here, but that's not important right now. We need to track this Samantha down, and fast. Dave and Richie exchanged knowing looks. "This is big," Dave said. "Possibly the biggest thing we've ever seen." A notification pinged on Juan's tablet, and he gasped out loud. "What is it?" Dave queried sharply. The intern looked up. "We have just detected the suspect arriving at North Vegas Airport, and from her credit card records, she has booked a room at the MGM Grande for tonight." Dave felt the hairs on his arms stand up. "All right, I'm going to take care of this one personally. We can't afford to lose this. Gonna pack an overnight bag and take our private Gulfstream to Vegas ASAP. Should be there in under 2 hours." He pointed at Richie. "Organize a car for me and alert everyone that it's all hands on deck." Richie nodded briskly. "Will do. And good luck, Dave." Dave arrived at the MGM in the early evening, the desert sunset casting an eerie blood-like haze across the dusty parking lot. The hotel lobby was relatively quiet, a few tourist groups checking in, and a scattering of people at the bar. He looked down at the picture on his phone and scanned the area. Nope, not here. Dave fought down a wave of frustration. Okay, gotta stay calm. He glanced at the bar. "I'll grab a drink and wait." He ordered a beer, and the gorgeous raven-haired woman next to him gave him a tentative smile. He nodded briskly. "Any other time I'd be interested, but it's all business right now, sweetie." He took his drink and sat down at a table, which commanded a view of the lobby entrance and the elevators leading to the suites. This was the crucial moment, the first contact. He found most of the time the killer was flattered. both by the money offered and the chance at infamous immortality. Their name remembered long after the victims had been forgotten. Most of the time. His phone started ringing. Hello? It was Richie. Dave, we got a problem. We've checked the hotel camera and there is no sign of our target, coming or going. Looks like we got scammed. Dave sighed bitterly. Damn it, well, she must be in Vegas somewhere. He looked out the entrance. It was dark now, with the first stars appearing in the velvet night. Look, I'm gonna stay here for a while. Keep your eyes and ears open and let me know if anything develops. Roger that, Richie replied. Dave sighed again. Might as well get another beer. The dark-haired lady was still at the bar, a few whiskeys in by the looks of the glasses in front of her. She looked at him from under lowered eyelids. I was watching you. Looks like you've been stood up. Dave flashed a wry grin. Yeah, you could say that. A faint smile. Me too. I don't think my date is turning up. She gave him a sultry glance. Look, I have a room here and a bottle of sparkling on ice waiting for me. Want to come up and have a nightcap? Dave chuckled. Still got it. Sure, why not? Maybe we can salvage something out of this shitty situation. Her room was on the 12th floor with an impressive view of the Strip. As she was closing the door behind them, Dave asked, Hey, I didn't catch your name? Oh, how rude of me. It's Samantha, she replied breathily, just as he felt a sharp pinprick, and then everything went black. He awoke groggily, unable to move. After a quick assessment, he realized that was because his hands and feet were restrained with zip ties, and he was lying on a bed with duct tape holding him down. Awake now, my little Dave? The woman was standing beside the bed, gently caressing his arm. He shivered with a frisson of fear. You're Samantha Bronte? He demanded with wide eyes. And how do you know my name? Samantha smiled sardonically. Oh, I know everything about you. She sat down on the edge of the bed. You fell into my trap like such a good little boy. But how? Dave stammered. You'd be surprised at what you can do with a degree in computer science. She continued stroking him with her fingernails. Especially when you have HME's login details from a loyal employee. She took something from the bedside table and plopped it onto his chest with a sickening squelch. I don't think your buddy Anthony is going to be coming back to work anytime soon. He gazed at the reddish-colored object with growing horror. Holy shit, it was his skin. It was Anthony's skin. Samantha dug her nails into his arm viciously. Dave cried out in pain. Do you know what it's like to lose your parents in the most hideous way, and then to have their violation watched again and again by your millions of depraved fans? Dave gasped. Look, honey, we don't make these killers. We just make them famous. If not us, then someone else would. I'm not so sure. Samantha's voice dripped pure venom. But you're going to find out, all of you, what a really dedicated serial killer can do. She took something from under the bed. You and your puerile nicknames. It's only poetic justice to return the favor. Do you recall one of your first documentaries? Samantha stood up. I believe it was called The Boston Bludgeoner. The rusty sledgehammer was the last thing Dave saw, to live a life posthumously. The casket was oak with a mahogany finish. A yellow cut sunflower lay haphazardly between the fingers of the body, the most color offered in the small run-down church. Only 3 people entered the room. Only 3 took seats in the front aisle, chipped gas cans and matchboxes in hand. The uniformity of the black outfits made the room feel smaller, duller. The only respite was the small, almost seamless lines of dark gray thread interwoven into the fabric of each person's blazer. An imperfection, yes, but a consolation for him nonetheless. Each blazer told a different story: missed meals and burning anger, a car, a sunflower field, and unfortunate truths, old fortunes and new beginnings. That was what they were. Memories of a time when he lived, stories into the person he was. So as he watched the three effortlessly coat the aisle seats and checkered floors with oil, watched as the papers of his existence become pliant under the weight of the foreign substance, he thought back to a time when he simply was. The calm before the storm. It is bright and damp. A cold draft whistles through the broken roof of the rundown house. The only warmth apparent was from the overused patchwork blanket and the 2 sizes to big black blazer, the price tag still attached. Silas felt along the side of the stiff material, wincing at the tear already present from the rusted sharp metal of old Mac's wired fence. Damn it, my first big job, and I already made a mess. His father would not be happy. He got up and slipped down the stairs from the rickety attic, stopping shortly as he heard the hushed voices in the kitchen. He readied himself to flee before carefully peeking through the gap in the door. You said you would stop. You promised me you wouldn't steal or sell again, that when the kids were born, we would start fresh. Mama clenched the ladle in her hand, the remaining soup on it, slowly dripping onto the floor. Silas's stomach clenched at the wasted food. Mama never wasted food. Father seemed to realize this too, as his large shoulders seemed to shrink under his wife's eyes. The gun he was cleaning in his hands, less a threat compared to her ever-growing anger. We did. I have. But this time it was personal. He attacked this family's integrity. He questioned our worth. I had the money we could have paid, but he wouldn't let us. So we left, taking only what we rightly deserved. He attacked the gun with a new sense of purpose, the black residue coming off further, staining his stubby fingers, leaving the faint scars still visible on them to almost glow against his sunburnt skin. They both became still, the anger permeating the room colder, clearer. It felt like a line had been drawn, with one person on each side. It felt permanent. Then know this, Antonio. We have followed you around as you have shepherded us like sheep to the slaughter, purposefully ignorant. I wonder when we are dead and gone, if you will still try to talk of integrity. Silas's stomach clenched and rumbled. He wished he was somewhere else. What once was still is. It was windy and hot, the moon the only source of light. The leather shift grated against his hand as the car flew around the corner. Fuck, the police were gaining. Damn it, Silas, push it! Creed's voice echoed around the car, his brother's patience waning. It felt like he was stuck underwater. Everything seemed to merge into one. His black blazer stuck to his skin as perspiration slowly fell down his neck. His fingers shook, and his pulse raced. Breathing felt hard. It was too hot. It was too sticky. It was too dark. Everything was just too much. Houses passed in a blur as they raced away from the inevitable. The sound of the siren receded and returned like waves upon the shore. They were coming to the end of the street. Beside them, hidden behind the buildings, was a field of sunflowers. Their brightness diminished due to the enveloping darkness. Ahead was a dusted-out dirt road where they would most certainly be arrested. Creed's tattooed fingers came into his line of view, his pointer extended to the side of Silas. Turn here, down this side street. Once you get to the end, drive straight into those flowers and cut the engine. The car lurched to the left, the wheels leaving the ground from the sudden turn before gravity took over, and Silas rammed the vehicle into the complying field and buried the flowers under the tracks of his tires. Silas turned sharply once more before turning off the ignition. A loud silence consumed the car as everything settled, the void only filled by the slight tapping sound of their boots and stuttering breaths. The siren passed, taking with it Silas's anxiety, but not his anger. He waited a few before speaking. I thought this was meant to be a small job. No cops, no competition, just a simple drop-off. He watched Creed pull at the tie around his throat, his ample fingers moving quickly and with purpose. It was. Dad knew that Anthony would pull one on him, so he asked me to switch the cargo before handing it over. Anything the cops find will come back to him, not us. Silas scoffed. So he told you but didn't bother to tell me. We could have been caught, or worse, we could have died. I have an econ paper due, and instead of doing that, I am wasting away in a car with someone who would rather have no future. The veins on Creed's head throbbed as his anger increased. No future? This family is your future. How many times do I have to tell you that? Ondiam vai, Ozotra's sagging. The sound of Creed's phone ringing stopped Silas from responding as he listened with bated breath to the sharply spoken conversation. The awkward silence rose as Creed finished his phone call, both boys now leaning on their slightly open doors, the cool breeze doing nothing to calm the blistering rage from their prior conversation. Dad said he will be here in 30. We've been asked to wait. Creed pocketed his phone, a scowl resting on his face. Silas looked at the sunflowers beside him, watching them sway and jitter like puppets on a string. Control or be controlled, as his father always said. It was a pity he wasn't the latter. He curled his fingers in feeling at the moon-shaped scars on his palm, forcing down the words he wished he could say, and closed his eyes. Yeah, I guess we wait. The end. The room was ablaze in orange and yellow, the snap of the fire against the brawny wood aisle seats and fabric curtains like the crescendo in a song, dramatic and loud. In all the abruptness and carnage, Silas felt at peace. Looking down at his body, hair slicked back, black blazer on, Silas felt he could finally move on. The slow opening of the doors drew his attention back as he watched the backs of his family exit the burning church. A small hand rested itself on his shoulder. Its voice was soft and almost overtaken by the symphony of sounds made by the flames. It is time. Silas took one final look at himself before turning and walking into the shadows. Kill the messenger. Sweetie, look, this was just delivered. It's from... My wife reads the card while unboxing the birthday present, peeling off red gift wrapping. Your Aunt Salome. That's nice. Wait, Aunt Salome? But... ... The red gift wrapping blooms into an orange fireball. The shockwave pushes me, shoves me, throws me hard into the wall. The screams from my wife's birthday party guests are muffled, as if I'm submerged in water deep below the surface. Aunt Salome. Only I know that she is not real. Aunt Salome is the code name for my dispatcher at Zarathustra. She is my sweet old sickly aunt who lives in a nursing home in rural middle of nowhere on the other side of the country, who sends cards for Christmas and birthdays, who has a Facebook account filled with photographs of her, an actress hired by Zarathustra, with me, her favorite nephew. And Werji writes bot-generated old lady posts that periodically include a bat signal code phrase to activate me. Zarathustra thinks my marriage is an elaborate cover. They think I'm an unfeeling psychopath who built a facade of respectability, by marrying a wholesome suburban everywoman, siring 2 adorably ordinary children. Zarathustra thinks it's all a front, and they're right. I am a psychopath. That's why I'm an effective tool for Zarathustra. I am unfeeling about my assignments. I'm rational, precise, calculating, manipulative, deceptive, effective. I don't make mistakes. I'm a machine. But they're wrong. My marriage is not a facade. It's real. It's the only real thing I have. It's not that I love my wife and my children. Love, like any emotion, is ultimately empty, easy to fake, meaningless. But my family is an extension of me. New limbs I've grown, like a salamander. New heads, like Hydra. If you hurt them, you hurt me. If you hurt me, I will hurt you. He's a slight man, narrow shoulders, thinning blonde hair, almost bald on top, wearing small round glasses with thick lenses. He's half my height, even in the Western boots with 3-inch heels. He walks with a strange gait, as if he is skipping. There's something jaunty about him. I follow him into the office building, staying far behind him since he knows me by sight. When he waves the key card to enter his office, I step up behind him and put the silenced gun barrel into the small of his back. "Hello again," I say. "You..." His eyes go wide behind the small glasses when I dig the barrel in a little harder. "How did you..." "Let's go!" Inside, it's a small office, but with a nice view of the skyline, well appointed with a large desk, an oversized leather executive chair, and 2 computer monitors on a credenza facing the windows. There's a fine layer of dust on the seat cushions of the 2 visitor chairs in front of the desk. No one comes to visit. "So," I say, "we meet again." You asked how I knew. Well, I remembered the photographer hired by Zarathustra who took the pictures of me with the elderly actress playing the part of Aunt Salome. That photographer was you. When I found out that old lady actress died from natural causes, just a week after that photo shoot, but you didn't. 2 and 2 make 4. You're part of Zarathustra. I don't know what you mean. Zarathustra? I assumed you were a flunky, but that you could lead me to the next rung on the ladder to get to my handler. But now that I see this place, clearly, you are more than a flunky. I think you're Aunt Salome. Aunt Dash, you're my handler. Sit down. He sits down behind the desk. I keep standing, gun pointed at him. Why did you kill my wife? I didn't. Let me rephrase that. Why did you order the killing of my wife? Please, I didn't. It had all the markers of Zarathustra. In fact, it's the way I would have done it. Wait, I can explain. Will you allow me? He points, index finger over his shoulder, to the computer monitors. I have a message pre-recorded for this specific situation. It's from the leader of Zarathustra. The leader? Yes. May I? I nod. He swivels the office chair, turns his back to me, brings up web page, completely blank, except for a single open field and the text. Enter password, Z9 asterisks. What's the password? I don't know, but I've been told that you do. He lifts the wireless keyboard from the credenza tray, swivels, and slides the keyboard across the wide expanse of the desk. I shift the gun to my left hand, still pointing the barrel at him. Yes, I do know a password that begins with Z9. The thing is, I'm the only one who does. I keep the gun trained on him as I key in the password. As soon as I enter the password, a video starts playing, and there he is, the leader of Zarathustra. My face. Congratulations, says my face in the video. The sacred game is at an end. The festivals of atonement are over. Since you're watching this video, You're ready for the next step. It's time to take out the middleman, kill the messenger. I shift my silenced gun back into my right hand, but I hesitate. Go ahead, my face on the video says. You don't need Aunt Salome anymore. A feather-light pressure on the trigger, a sound like a cough, a puff of smoke from the barrel, and there's a hole in the little man's forehead. His head snaps back, and he slumps over in the office chair. Aunt Salome is dead. The middleman is gone. The messenger has been killed. My face says, now it's just you. Only you. All you. As it always was. You decide, as you always did. Only now you know that it has always been you making the choices. What's your next assignment? Who's your next kill? The screen goes blank. Outside the window, the skyline, the tall buildings full of people,